Hello, I'm Sierra Richardson, and today we're going to be discussing the topic of what impact art has on the city of Milwaukee. So, first, we're going to go through a little bit of brief history. Milwaukee has a really rich art history. Its first art museum was opened in 1888 by Frederick Leighton in Milwaukee's Cathedral Square. The museum was called the Leighton Gallery and it featured art by various American and European artists. The gallery was demolished in 1958, but Milwaukee's Cathedral Square continues to be a space for artistic and creative expression that is now home to Jazz in the Park and Bastille Days, amongst other festivals that promote art. So, some current work that we've been a hot topic lately. A mural paying homage to healthcare workers in the midst of COVID-19 was recently done by Mauricio Ramirez on Milwaukee's South Side. So art definitely reflects the current events going on in the world, the current condition worldwide and in little old Milwaukee as well. So Milwaukee artists are definitely woke to what's going on. So this brings us to the question of where can we see art in the city of Milwaukee? And you can see it on your daily commute, your way to work, your way to school. It's everywhere, but if you wanted to really devote some time into seeing it, the Milwaukee Art Museum is a great place to start. There's thousands of pieces of work of all mediums and from all over the world, from here to Timbuktu. Another great place is the Groman Museum, which features art from all over the world that is dedicated to subjects of work, innovation, science, or manual labor, and this is why it's located on Milwaukee's School of Engineering campus, and this is actually the largest collection of work of this subject matter in the entire world, right here in Milwaukee. The St. Kate Arts Hotel is located in Milwaukee's Art District, which it's not officially the Art District, but we're going to call it that. And it's right by the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts. And what's interesting about this hotel is every room was designed by an artist. So their creativity is really run wild. Some of these rooms are really eccentric. And many of the artists were actually local artists. And they also exhibit lots of local and world-renowned art exhibits. So pretty interesting. Definitely not your typical hotel. So why is art important here? Well, art is pretty vital in the city of Milwaukee, actually. It's a means for people to express themselves and practice entrepreneurship. And art also fuels social movements here, which are prevalent as many are trying to improve the quality of life for many people here in Milwaukee. Issues like mass incarceration, segregation, improvement of education, climate change, and others have had attention drawn to them by the controversy and discussion that was sparked through public art. The art scene here can be a bit exclusive, and because of this, there is very much an underground or grassroots movement that's in full swing for the local artists who don't quite fit the mold of the upscale downtown scene. And this is due in part to the lack of access to art resources and exposure for people of lower socioeconomic status. So and unfortunately, that is Milwaukee Public School students of color in particular that are affected by this. So this issue has prompted many community members to take action and advocate for arts education equality in the Milwaukee area, and also to start many nonprofit organizations that help both artists and youth have the space to create, innovate, and propel social justice. Because of these movements and the local artists and activists that fuel them, Milwaukee is home to many hidden gems, and I really emphasize that. This poses many questions, though, about the who, the why not, and the how about the Milwaukee art scene that we're going to explore. So, first of all, who makes Milwaukee worth it? Like, why do people stay here? What is it about it? Who's making these things happen? Who's making it a better place? Who's making it beautiful? And to put that simply, that's Milwaukee's artists. So the first artist that we are going to meet is Brema Brema, who came from the war-stricken country of Sudan nearly a decade ago. He didn't know then that he would ever be as successful as he is now as a 23-year-old photographer, designer, and entrepreneur in his new home of Milwaukee. He lived in many refugee camps and he faced many hardships, which led him to coming to America, Milwaukee in particular, with the help of the UN. The thing that helped Brema get through these difficult times with little friends was art. And he now runs a successful clothing line called Unfinished Legacy that features urban streetwear. They sell hoodies and t-shirts that say "A Genius from the Hood" to promote positivity for those who've grown up socioeconomically disadvantaged. The line also features many pieces with a lot of butterflies, and this is because they're meant to represent growth and transformation. His clothing line is allowing people to express themselves and what they represent by wearing art. His photography brand Optic Legacy has brought him a great deal of notoriety as well. He brings attention to the hidden gems of Milwaukee and shows all of the beauty of the city off to the world through his 62.2 thousand Instagram followers. He also showcases the beauty of the city's north side, which he feels is important because he feels it's important you don't claim Milwaukee if you're north side phobic. End quote. Since this part of the city is often stigmatized for being ghetto, several of these photo series about Milwaukee have gone viral online. Brema says his success comes from learning how to network and present oneself by navigating the website LinkedIn. It has definitely paid off because he recently got his own solo exhibition for his photography work featured at the St. Kate Arts Hotel downtown. He also worked for a community organization called True School Inc. that works to give youth a space to express themselves creatively and have access to mentors that can help nurture their talents. Brema makes Milwaukee a better place by showing the world his craft, and he promotes a positive outlook on the city. He inspires the youth of Milwaukee. He promotes for them to be proud of where they're from, nurture their talent, represent themselves well, and meet new people, and leave a positive legacy because if Brema can do it, anybody can. He leads by a really positive example for Milwaukee's youth. Another local artist who's working to brighten up the city of Milwaukee is muralist Natacho Lopez. Natacho grew up in Milwaukee loving graffiti art and got in trouble with the law often when he was young for spray painting buildings. He now spray paints murals all over the world, and he's a highly sought after tattoo artist and has contributed over 30 murals to neighborhoods and organizations in Milwaukee because, quote, "It feels good to give back to the neighborhoods I grew up in." Natacho promotes positivity in the city by completing murals for free to help bring beauty and new people into different neighborhoods in Milwaukee. So, the next question is, how does art fuel the social movements that are happening here? So, Milwaukee artist, climate change activist, and UWM faculty member Nicholas Lampert believes very strongly that in order to draw attention to social movements, artists must be involved in the decision-making process. This is because when a protest for a cause is getting media coverage, the media is going to train its camera on something that is photogenic. End quote. In the city of Milwaukee, life can be very difficult for a myriad of reasons, and this is often reflected in the artwork that is produced here with intentions of provoking a conversation about the issues and promoting change ultimately. So this is what prompted Milwaukee native and director of 12 Years a Slave John Ridley to open No Studios, which is a space for local artists and activists to come together to work on social justice issues in art. John said, "Art can be a way to heal and help people get past trauma." He wants to highlight the activists and bring people together to build networks that can tackle these issues all year long. We want to honor people who are working tirelessly every day to make life more equitable for all of us, because social justice is not just for me, it's not just for you, it's for everyone. There have been many, end quote, there have been many public pieces that have sparked controversy and brought attention to social justice issues around the city of Milwaukee. One of these pieces found its home in Black Cat Alley, which is an alleyway on Milwaukee's east side that was turned into a rotating outdoor mural space in 2016. The controversial piece was called Devante, and it depicted a young black man in an orange jumpsuit. The piece highlighted the school-to-prison pipeline issue, and also the way whites in the city often perceive young black men to be involved in criminal activity in ducked-off spaces such as alleyways. The piece also sparked a lot of controversy because the artist who depicted this was white. So, now the question is, who is left out of the conversation when it comes to the state of where art is at in Milwaukee? Is there any art inequality here? And the simple answer to that is absolutely. Milwaukee Public Schools has cut funding to arts programs many times to stay afloat, and it's caused outrage amongst parents, students, and teachers alike. In 2018, a large crowd started a protest for more funding for arts programs in MPS. The protest started at Riverside University High School and ended at the school board's central office. This is just one of many protests that have been taking place for decades in the name of the fight for the right to a well-rounded education. Neighboring school districts are guaranteed arts programs, and this is one of the many inequalities Milwaukee's youth face. Milwaukee's youth do not get enough art exposure or education because the school district just doesn't have the funding to do so. The youth needs a means to express themselves and the space and resources to do so. This is where community organizations like True School come into play. They provide youth with exposure to adults who care about them having accessibility to arts classes such as graffiti, DJing, breakdancing, video production, photography, band, music production, and the art of MC, which is rapping or poetry. They also provide a safe space in mentors, tutoring, yoga and deep breathing classes, group therapy and counseling, and they have True Knowledge Wednesdays, which is a mandatory class session each week that aims to discuss a different social justice issue and usually involves doing a collective project that's relevant to the issue. I myself was actually a True School student, and one of the collective projects that we worked on a True Knowledge Wednesday was after Trump was elected, and we sought to claim back the connotation behind the phrase build a wall. So we were each given bricks of clay, and we could draw or write whatever positive message we wanted into it, and we collectively built a wall that is now on display somewhere in the Harambee neighborhood, I believe. So they are a wonderful organization, and these community organizations can help to supplement the artistic and creative needs of many children, but they can't save them all, and art is absolutely vital for the education of all children, and their needs must be met. The arts help to develop the young brain, and they help children develop essential thinking tools like recognizing patterns, creating mental representation of things that are observed, understanding metaphorical or symbolic representations, and carefully observing the world. All of these things can help to develop the prefrontal cortex, which is the area of the brain responsible for logic and decision making along with critical thinking. Art is an essential component of education, and it needs to be more accessible to children in Milwaukee from all backgrounds in order for them to thrive emotionally and cognitively. So, all in all, the city of Milwaukee has a lot to offer when it comes to art, even though it's far from the first thing many people will think of when they first think about the city. Art can be seen in the city in many different places, from upscale downtown hotels and museums, to the sides of buildings, and even the clothing people wear. I'm a Milwaukee native, and I feel like far too often we have a tendency to look at the city and see only the negative aspects of life here. It is important to see the people who make life here more beautiful, and do so while fighting for equality or to make the city a better place for everybody. These people are Milwaukee's artists. No matter what medium they use to achieve this, whether it be murals, fashion, photography, protest signs, film, whatever, one can definitively say that both Milwaukee's art and activism are alive, and together, both parties continue to spark controversy and keep discussion going about injustices and how we can improve. It is important to note that in the city of Milwaukee, access to art itself is evidence of inequality. I myself grew up in Milwaukee Public Schools, and I distinctly remember making posters for a protest at the Capitol as a child that said, "Keep the arts in education." Because our school specifically was being hit hard with budget cuts, and all of our arts and physical education teachers were being laid off. I remember thinking about the kids in other schools and how it was unfair they got to keep their art classes and even had more options like music and dance classes offered at school. Funding for the arts continues to be an issue in Milwaukee Public Schools, and the benefits of these programs continue to be advocated for to the school board and policymakers. Art serves many purposes besides just providing aesthetic pleasure to life. Art can propel and serve as a platform for revolutionary ideas. And this is why it's so important for everyone to have access to art exposure and education in Milwaukee, so we can either become or learn to appreciate those who improve the quality of life here for all of us. Thanks for listening.